This is Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies.
Hello, Reporter Room investigators. Come on in, come on in. We have some important updates in the Delphi case of Richard Allen. For those of you that have been watching the Hulu series, it's very, very interesting. So we have some updates. His wife, Kathy, is now speaking out. We have some other new information, too, that's been coming to light since the series has generated some new interest in the case. So come on in. Tell me where you're from. You can tell me what country, what city, what state, whatever you feel comfortable sharing. So my name is Jessica Della Davies. I'm an investigative journalist, and my job is to investigate crimes, crime scenes, and potential suspects, and share with you how to do the same thing. If you have not subscribed to the Reporter Room, well, it's free, so please consider subscribing. Also, I can't get to 50,000 subscribers without your help. Join the Reporter Room family, like, share, leave a comment, and know that everything I'm sharing with you is for purposes anyway. So today we're going to be talking about the new Hulu documentary and Richard Allen's wife speaking out, and Libby's mom is also speaking out. So let's get started. Come on in. You can tell me what country, state, whatever you want to share, what continent. So the wife of Richard Allen is breaking her silence in a shocking crime that catapulted the small town of Delphi into the national spotlight. In a 3-part series, capturing their with an Iller with a K, The Girls on the High Bridge is a deep dive into the mysterious case with interviews from key players, including victims, friends, and relatives, and also Richard Allen's wife. It's streaming now on Hulu. So according to the Indy Star, it features Richard Allen's wife, Kathy, for the first time speaking out in this high-profile investigation. Now, for those of you that aren't familiar with the case, I'm just going to do a very quick 30-second synopsis. Best friends Libby German and Abby Williams had a day off from school on February the 13th of 2017. They decided to take a walk along the Delphi Historic Trails, a local hiking path in their hometown that went over what is called the Monoon High Bridge. Kelsey German, who was Libby's older sister, dropped the girls off, and she said they just got out of the car, walked to the trail to the high bridge, and we told each other we loved her and we loved each other, and that was the last time I saw her. Around 2 p.m., Libby German posted a photo of Abby walking across the Monoon High Bridge on Snapchat. So let's look at that together. And then we're going to
Thanks for inviting.
just want to go to the part where it's actually the bridge.
So we also want you to.
So the guys down the hill comment was recorded separately.
So we also.
But that is Bridge Guy. Okay, and in my opinion, Bridge Guy does match a lot of things belonging to Richard Allen. He's around the same height. But if you have a different opinion, that's okay. We don't all have to agree. A lot of people believe Richard Allen didn't do this because Richard Allen repeatedly claimed he didn't do this. But let's just go through everything together and then just see where we end up. So when the girls didn't show up when they were supposed to be picked up, Becky told Fox 2 that they knew something wasn't right. They all went through the trails. And then when they didn't find the girls, they called police. Now, initially, police searched the Monoon High Bridge on February the 13th, but their bodies weren't found until the next day on Valentine's Day, because I believe law enforcement called off the search early. I'm not really sure why they called off the search early. To me, they shouldn't have. Maybe they just thought that the girls wandered away. And initially, they were searching underneath the Monoon High Bridge. They thought maybe the girls had fallen through or fallen off. But Richard Allen's wife opens up the first time since since the trial, on her perspectives on this. But I believe that there were a lot of red flags right away that Karen Allen should have seen. First of all, the residents of Delphi, when two of these two girls, Abby and Libby, disappeared, the residents of Delphi dropped everything and joined the search. But Richard Allen was busy making bizarre comments and actively discouraging his relatives from joining the community effort. And it sounds like he prepped his family that he was going to be implicated. So there were strange moments. Now, this information is coming from journalist Ann Kane and her husband, attorney Kevin Greenlee. They're the wife and husband team of the Murder Sheet, but a podcast that delved into this crime. So they said that there were strange moments that Richard Allen's mom and wife brushed off at the time, but came flooding back to them 5 years later when he was finally revealed to have been the one that did away with Libby and Abby. Now, the authorities learned Janice, who is Richard Allen's mom, Janice Allen, received a strange phone call from Richard. She said he sounded nervous, and he told her at the time, this is just a few days after Libby and Abby are reported missing, he said, and then they were found on the 14th, he told her that they are going to pin this on me. So he told his mom he had been on the trail that day and the girls had been done away with, and he had been smoking a cigarette. He claimed that they might find a cigarette butt, collect his DNA from it, and use it to tie him to the crime scene. This is what Janice later told police. Now, Richard Allen's mom, Janice, found this conversation odd, but she kept it to herself for years. But when her son was arrested in October of 2022, she recalled the strange conversation and shared this with law enforcement. She said, "We learned from investigators that the conversation definitely stuck in her mind to the point where she felt like she should bring it up to investigators. It's not something that she thought, or this is just Richard being Richard and then forget about it. So I think it's significant." This is what Kane says. Kane believes that Richard Allen also prepared his family for his looming arrest and for the narrative that he continues to push, that he is an innocent victim in the miscarriage of justice. And another red flag is he told Kathy, this is his wife Kathy, not to help search for Libby and Abby. So during the roughly 24-hour period when the girls were missing, Kathy Allen, who had been married to Richard Allen for 34 years and is the mother of his adult daughter, Brittany, was among those who wanted to help try to find Libby and Abby. And when these girls went missing, Delphi went into overdrive. Employers were giving employees the day off from work, and people were volunteering to search. This is according to Kane. So Kathy was very much in the spirit of this. She wanted to go onto the trails to help look for Libby and Abby, but Richard Allen persuaded his wife not to get involved. This is according to Kane and Greenlee. It's not clear what he said, but it was enough to stop Kathy from joining in searching for Abby and Libby. Kathy also had to convince Richard to contact the police to tell him where he was on the day that they disappeared, on the 13th day. She said that he had been so reluctant to call in the tip. So I believe Richard Allen was bridge guy on a search warrant that was executed on Richard Allen's home, uncovered a bridge guy starter kit, basically, consisting of blue jeans and the Carhartt jacket and a pistol with ballistics that matched an unspent bullet found near Libby and Abby, and he was charged in the crimes. And in their new book, Greenlee and Kane present Richard Allen as someone capable of committing this type of violence and then returning to apparent normalcy. And it's almost chilling. So he went from 0 to 60. 1 minute he was sitting there having a normal time in his cell, and then he's screaming and threatening to do away with correctional officers, Kane said. At one point he made a throat motion across his throat, echoing the way that he did away with Libby and Abby. And moments later he was calm again. And Kane said that she thought that this is what Abby and Libby saw that day, a man who was capable of being normal and calm, and then would go into an absolute frenzy. Now, likewise, after doing this, Richard Allen just snapped back into normal life. He was working for CVS at the time. But when he went on trial in the fall of 2024, we are learning for the first time, this is what Kane and Greeley reveal, Richard Allen made chilling threats against both the prosecutor and the judge, Judge Francis Gull, inside the courtroom. So maybe this is why she didn't want it televised. One disturbing moment was he threatened to go attack lead prosecutor Nicholas McLeland because he sometimes pointed at Richard Allen in court. Richard Allen said something to the effect of, if he keeps pointing at me, I'm going to jump up there and hurt him. This is according to what Kane said. This threat got back to the prosecutor, who wanted to show Richard Allen that he was not the least bit intimidated by him. So he actually made a point of pointing at Richard Allen during his closing argument. Now, Richard Allen did not follow through on his threat, perhaps because McLeland is an adult man who can handle himself, according to Kane, unlike Libby and Abby, who were just girls in the woods alone. And he also had a gun. But in this behavior, I believe, formed a pattern where Richard Allen would use threats to control other people. We believe that he used a gun to threaten Libby and Abby. And inside the courtroom, he was doing the same thing to exert power over his own family. He warned his family that he would attack Judge Francis Gull if they defied his orders to not attend his sentencing. He didn't want them there. So this is really disturbing, you guys. This is not like, I don't think this is like something like normal people do. And this may be part of why the judge was, not wanting to have this televised or have any more. We have a lot of people saying that, he didn't do it. They believe he's innocent. And that's okay if you don't agree with the authors of this. If you don't agree, we're not going to all agree on every case. But Richard Allen was ultimately convicted. So let's talk about what we learned from the Hulu docuseries. We learned that they did this motion that Richard Allen did is actually what happened to them. I'm watching my words. They were dumped in the nearby woods. They didn't come home. Their families were frantic. The Monoon High Bridge looks different now. It's made a lot safer. People can't just walk across that rickety bridge anymore. And, it's very interesting that this occurred on November the 13th. It seems like the 13th is a month that came up in the Idaho case. It's also one that comes up in the Amityville horror case too, right? So why do these perpetrators choose the 13th of the month? Let me know what your theory is, but just please watch your words. There's some words that you're not allowed to use on YouTube. And if you use them, you'll be caught in the YouTube filter and I won't get to read your comments. So please consider using alternative language, unaliving or something like that. So we learned that the search from Hulu, that the search for Abby and Libby was called off early, and that this is concerning because not finding the crime scene sooner could have helped find more evidence. We also learned that the authorities focused on an area directly underneath the Monoon High Bridge because they thought that the girls just simply fell through, and the bridge did look precarious at the time. And it's been updated since and made safer, but so it doesn't sound like authorities initially thought this was a predator, and that they were initially looking for Libby and Abby because they thought maybe they got lost or that they fell off the bridge. So it does make me wonder why they didn't look for Libby and Abby longer on that day, and why the search was called off early. So when they did find Libby and Abby finally on Valentine's Day, February 14th, Abby's clothing was in the water. And so we learned that they actually found the clothing that belonged to Abby first. Now, there's been a lot of speculation as to why this clothing was in the water. I believe that the girls crossed the water and it's possible that Abby dropped her clothes. Let me know if you have a different theory of why that was in. It could also be that Richard Allen was trying to wash off DNA and potential evidence by putting Abby's clothes in the water too. Some people believe that Abby's clothes were strategically placed in the water to wash away the DNA evidence. But the other thing that really jumped out at me was the fact that Richard Allen redressed only one of the girls. And this was, in my opinion, to cover up the true nature of his crime. I believe that this was SA motivated And Richard Allen has said repeatedly during his confessions that he did not realize the true age of Libby and Abby. I disagree. I think that he would have known how old they were. I just think that this was him trying to save face. Let me know if you have a different opinion on this. But I think that he redressed one of the victims in an effort to cover up what he did, to cover up the true nature of what this was. And I think there were multiple men using the Anthony Schatz account, but I do think that Richard Allen committed this crime by himself. I think he also covered up Libby and Abby using branches. I think this was another effort on Richard Allen's part to cover up what he did. So Richard Allen was arrested 5 years later, and at the time of his arrest, he was now 50 years old, working as a clerk at a local CVS. And according to court records obtained by WRTV, he had been a Delphi resident since 2006 and lived 2.5 miles from the Monoon High Bridge, where Libby and Abby were found. He's also a licensed pharmacy technician and had no criminal record. So Kathy Allen thinks that he is innocent. Let me just play this. Should be able to hear static right now before the volume starts. And I'm going to turn the subtitles on. And I think this is very, very telling.
Hey, baby. Yeah. It's all right, babe.
So this is Richard Allen's wife, Kathy, who did speak out, and we're going to talk about what she said, what her most recent statements are in just a moment. But I want to go through this.
It's going to be all right. They're trying to tell me that you actually believe that I did it. And I just can't believe that.
Trying to figure out where there's a bullet out there.
I know. Do you think I'm not? And that's what.
So right away, she's confronted with, with this, and there's this long pause. So I feel like at this point, Kathy was, this is October 26th of 2022. I feel like at this point, she was prepared to agree that he did it. But then she goes into denial.
But I told him. I can't explain something I don't understand. I tried to explain to him that there's no way that a bullet from my gun was at a murder scene because it didn't happen. I didn't even have my gun that day I went out. You know me. You know this isn't something I could do. And I know that you know that. You don't have to tell me that, I know.
So I feel like there's a need to convince here that she doesn't have to tell him that. He knows that she knows. But I'm not so clear. I think at this point, this is my opinion. I think Kathy does know that he did it. But I want to now go over to the prison calls. And you hear him confess. He sounds completely normal. Not crazy at all.
Abby,
Yeah.
are you there? Are you there?
Yes, babe. Yeah, babe.
What's going on?
I just wanted to apologize to you.
What's going on, sweetheart? Are you
I
not
did
feeling
it.
well? You did
No,
what?
I did it.
What?
I killed Abby and Libby.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
No, you didn't, dear.
Yes, I did.
Don't say
I
you
don't know
did that.
why.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't, dear. You're not feeling well. There's something wrong. They've messed up your meds or something there.
No, I mean, I evidently did it.
No, you didn't. Why would you say that?
Because maybe I did.
No, you didn't, dear.
I think I did.
No, you didn't.
So he's repeatedly telling her that he did it, and he doesn't sound crazy, and he doesn't sound off the wall. He sounds calm. He sounds normal.
They are screwing with you there, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of it. There's something wrong. They are messing with you. They are messing with your mind.
Did Dad tell you I called?
Yeah.
What did
But while she's saying all this, remember, and this was recorded on May 3rd of 2022, remember, and he confessed 60 plus times to her, to his mother, to the psychologist. He confessed for multiple times. He sounds completely calm. Remember, when law enforcement was interviewing her and him separately, when she first gets brought into the room, she's not saying she didn't think that he didn't do it. The first thing he says is, I heard that you told law enforcement you thought I did this.
I say to him?
I don't know. I talked to your mom, but she called me in, and we're just worried about you because something's not right.
Is there a way to talk to Dad?
No, honey, I'm not with them right now. There's something wrong. They're screwing with you there.
What do they say?
Maybe they have done something to your food, or they've done something to your meds. There's something wrong. Don't you ever say you did anything, because I know you didn't.
I think I did.
No, you didn't. Why would you say that?
Because I think I did.
No, you didn't. You know you didn't.
I wish I could say I didn't. I don't know.
You don't know. See, exactly. There's something wrong. They're screwing with you. They're trying to get you to say things. They're trying to mess with your mind.
No, I deserve it, I guess.
There's something wrong. No, you don't.
Okay, so, I mean, clearly, at this point, he's confessing. He sounds calm. He sounds of sound mind. He doesn't sound crazy. And I can understand why the jury thought that he did it.
No, honey. We've all lost our minds at this point.
So I can trust Brad and Andy then?
Yes, you can, sweetheart. Yes. Let's not talk
How do I
about
know?
anything that we don't need to, but no, there are lawyers, honey. There are lawyers.
Well, I need to tell you something anyway.
Okay. Are you sure you want to talk to me over the phone?
I think I have to.
Okay.
I need you to know that I
So this is a different conversation.
did this.
What? No. No, you didn't, dear. There's no way. There's no way, dear.
You love me.
Dear, there's no way. Okay?
I hope you still love me.
I always am going to love you, honey, but no, you have not done anything. And I think you are not well. So you don't need to be saying you did something you didn't do.
Well, hon, this is the first time I've been able to talk to you, and I've been trying forever.
Were you just not allowed to call me, or?
I don't know what's going on, hon.
Okay.
I'm definitely going to lose my mind now, though.
Don't. I'm supposed to be meeting Brad here for some reason, so.
I've been asking for personal visitation, and that's not going through, and
I know.
then it's taken me, feels like it's taken me for.
So he confesses a second time. Here's another time.
You still there?
Hey. Yeah, I'm here.
No.
Need to get you some coffee.
Yeah.
Get your coffee or snacks or whatever you need, babe.
Oh, I hate spending that money when I don't even know where it came from.
It doesn't matter. It's in there. I wouldn't worry about it. Somebody's thinking of you, so I wouldn't question it. Oh, Lord, what a mess.
So this is his mother.
I just I think I've got everything. I don't understand my thought process on clothing. I really don't. Stupid. Trying to get better about that. What did you have for breakfast or lunch today?
Had some kind of eggs this morning. It looked like
Yeah.
something fairly normal. It's a little weird talking to you.
What, sweetheart?
So it's just kind of weird talking to you.
Why? Why would it be weird?
I don't know. It just is. Everything's weird in here anymore.
Yeah.
It's like I feel like I've lost my mind, found a hell or something.
Well, I kind of live in it right now. It's not a good place to be in. And I don't have much say in anything, I'm sure.
But you know that I done it, right?
Dear, I don't want to talk about that. Okay? I'm going to have a good conversation between us. I guess it doesn't matter what I think, but
Of course it does. Just in a really frustrating spot right now.
right.
I said I'm just in a really frustrating spot right now. And I know that that's nothing compared to where you're at, so I'm not trying to.
No.
So he confesses again. He thinks he's done it. And then he confesses again on June 11th.
How are you doing?
This again is to his mom.
Oh, I'm all right, I guess.
Yeah. It's good to hear your voice.
So did Kathy tell you that I did it?
We're not going to discuss this, okay? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Yeah. We love you. You know that, don't you?
Okay, so that's June 11th. He confesses again. And he sounds calm. And I think he's just trying to, I think he's just trying to get his family on board with the fact that he did it. But they're not listening to him. They're not taking his word for it. And I think it's interesting. Why won't they listen to Richard when he's saying over and over? But Kathy spoke out. She said, the first time I saw the picture of Bridge Guy, it could have been anybody. And I disagree with that. I don't think Bridge Guy could just be anybody. I think he does match. He's short. He's got a little bit of a belly. It looks to me like there is a mustache and goatee here, tucked down in. And then we found out that he has this exact jacket and the pants. So I'm not convinced that he is not Bridge Guy. I think being that it's such a small town, and the fact that he did put himself on the bridge and the fact that he confessed so many times. But Kathy Ellen spoke out. She said that the first time she saw Bridge Guy, it could have been anybody. She said, quote, "My husband's not a monster." And Richard and Kathy Allen married right out of high school, and their daughter Brittany was born in 1994. She said, quote, "He's a family man. Ricky is a wonderful, caring, compassionate father, not judgmental, very giving. He has good morals." Now, on February the 13th, Richard Allen had the day off from his job at CVS, so he was off that day. And Kathy said when she got home that evening, her husband was on the couch. When she saw on the news that Libby and Abby were missing, she said that her husband seemed surprised. Richard Allen told her that he was out on the trail that day, and Kathy asked him if he saw the girls, and he said no. She recalled Ricky called the police department to speak to the officers, and he was more than willing to help, she said. Now, Richard Allen met with an officer, she said, and then we heard nothing. And of course, now we've learned that his information that he was on the bridge that day got misfiled. And the Allens continued their lives. Abby and Libby's family were working through their grief, begging for answers, and 5 years ticked by. And each year, police said they were continuing to follow leads in what happened to Abby and Libby. And then on October 13th of 2022, Kathy Allen said that police knocked on her door and took Richard to the police station for an interview. And when the officers descended on their home with a search warrant, she said her husband consoled her as they waited outside. She said, Ricky said something like, well, it's over. It doesn't matter anymore. Okay, so to me, in my opinion, her statement, I think, tells me that the jury got it right. That with his multiple confessions. Well, it's over. It doesn't matter anymore, she recalled. On October 26th of 2022, Kathy joined her husband in the police interrogation room, which is the video clip I just showed you a few minutes ago. And she said, you know, I know you're not capable of something like this, but this was after some prompting by Richard Allen, which is why I wanted to show you that. He had to prompt her to say that. And on Halloween of 2022, police announced that Richard Allen's arrest for doing away with Libby and Abby, and that he admitted he was on the trail that day, but he denied being involved. And Abby's mom, Abby Anna Williams, spoke out, and she said, I was floored, quite honestly. We really had somebody living amongst us that had done this and never let on. Kathy Allen, who was Richard's wife, was also in disbelief, but adamantly believed Richard. She said, my husband's not a monster. He's not the monster people think he is, she said. So the case against Richard Allen, let's talk about that. Police said they zeroed in on Richard Allen after discovering a misfiled statement from him that he was on the bridge that day. In the days after the girls were discovered, Richard Allen did a self-report about being at the crime scene, but that statement, quote, fell in the cracks, according to Carroll County Sheriff Tony Liggett, who testified at Richard Allen's trial. A volunteer file clerk who arranged boxes of information and tips in the case testified in September of 2022. So this is very, very interesting. She testified that she came across a file folder that was not with the others that she was managing. And the sheet said that 3 days after the crimes, a person listed as Richard Allen Whiteman. So Richard Allen Whiteman, did he give a different name than his real name? Self-reported being on the trails between 1:30 and 3:30 on the day of the crime. The self-reporter listed seeing 3 girls. And we know that there were 3 girls that, a group of girls that would have passed Bridge Guy. The volunteer testified that she wrote a lead sheet and changed the name to Richard Allen, and that Allen lived on Whiteman Drive. Okay, so Richard Allen of Whiteman Drive, but somehow that got listed as Richard Allen Whiteman. She also believed that the names were transposed and that it was misfiled. So the prosecutor's key physical evidence was the .40 caliber unspent round discovered near Abby and Libby. Prosecutors argued that the police analysis determined that the unspent round was cycled through Richard Allen's Sig Sauer model P226. And although the girls were done away with this way, authorities believed that the perpetrator used a gun to intimidate the girls. So that's why I wanted to play for you that his confessions. Now, the defense team argued that Richard Allen's mental health deteriorated rapidly while in solitary confinement, and this is why he confessed 60 plus times. They say he was in a psychotic state during the confessions. But when I'm listening to Richard Allen, and tell me what you guys think, let me just do a poll. Do you believe Richard Allen when he says he did it? Put a 1 in the chat. If you don't believe that Richard Allen, do you believe he was in a psychotic state during all 60 plus confessions? Put a 2 in the chat. So despite the emotional pain of hearing the details, Libby's mom, whose name is Carrie Timmons, said, I was there for the entire trial every day. I did that for Libby. It was the least I could do. And when the case went to the jury, she said the 4 days of waiting for a verdict was excruciating. Kathy Allen said, quote, I felt pretty positive that the jury is going to make the right decision because reasonable doubt was written all over the place. On my phone conversations with Ricky, I heard some joy in his voice. But Richard Allen on November 2024, Richard Allen was found guilty on all charges. And Kathy Allen was sobbing while the verdict was read. And she said, Ricky looked confused and I wanted to stand there and scream for him, she said. Richard Allen was ultimately sentenced to 130 years in prison. Judge Gull said to him at the sentencing, I've spent 27 years as a judge and you rank right up there with the most heinous crimes in the state of Indiana. After sentencing, prosecutor Nicholas Leland thanked Libby and Abby for helping to catch the perpetrator. He said Libby had the wherewithal to pull out her phone to know something wasn't right and record the suspect as he walked across the bridge. He said, calling it arguably the biggest piece of evidence that we had, that recording. And he praised Abby for hiding the phone so that the perpetrator didn't get rid of the phone and that law enforcement could find it. So there are different people. Some people do think that Bridge Guy didn't do it. And they believe that he's innocent. So let's talk about that. I mean, when I look at the photos of Bridge Guy, let me see if I can pull that up. Let me pull that up, move myself down. Okay, we'll do this one instead. When I look at the photos of Bridge Guy, I do think it looks like Richard Allen.
So we also want you to hear the end of this video.
That does look like Richard Allen. He has shorter legs and a longer torso, which is very similar to what he looked like in the interrogation. He's got a little bit of a belly. I do think there's a potentially a mustache goatee happening here. Maybe not. Maybe it's a mask or something pulled over. But I do think that this physically is around the right height of the perpetrator. And so just doing the math in a small town like that, what are the odds that just math wise in a small town like Delphi, how many of them are male? How many of them are in this age range of a paunchy middle-aged looking guy? How many of them were on the bridge that day? And to me, it does look like Richard.
The girls interacting with someone, presumably Bridge Guy.
Hi.
And that's where we have, the audio did not come with the video. I just wanted to share it with you that way because the guys down the hill, which is often played with the video, was never together. Let's see what you guys said on the thing. And then we're going to talk about some of the theories that the defense had on this case. We're going to do both sides. And it's okay if you guys, whether you think he's innocent or guilty is absolutely fine. Please feel free to share your opinion. This is a Critical Thinkers channel. I'm going to provide the other side of it. So I did just do a poll, and I'm just looking for my poll now. So I'm looking for 1s and 2s. Here we go. So we have 1s and 2s. So it is a mixed bag. So we're going to do the other side of why people think he didn't do it. I use the comparison because BK is in the cell 23 hours a day without mental health visits. I think that both things can be true. I think what Hopper is saying, that he was mentally had a psychotic break, can be true. And he could also have been the perpetrator. I think both things are true. I don't think what it has to, I'm not a black and white thinker, but if you feel differently, that's okay. And I'm not saying if you feel differently, it means you're a black and white thinker. I just am looking at the fact that he did confess so many times. He sounds really calm. And to me, I believe him. I think he's guilty. YouTube says his soul was dead before he got there, in my opinion. Terry says BK is nothing like Richard Allen. He was in county jail living like a king compared to Richard Allen. I agree. I mean, I think Richard Allen, I don't know. Please try to just vote once. But Rochelle said when he told his wife he did it, she said, no, you didn't. Why are you saying that? And he said he evidently did. That sounds like he doesn't believe that he did it. Virginia said the video of the landowner looks like the same bridge guy to me, same jacket. All right, so let's talk about that. Let's talk about that. Because I do want to. So the video of bridge guy is a short man. To me, it does look like a goatee in the wind. But it could have been a mask. Could just be he had his chin tucked down too. He was spotted by multiple eyewitnesses on the bridge. Richard Allen did admit he was on the bridge team, but the defense team once says that that they think that Richard Allen walked up to Libby and Abby and ordered them down the hill, and that Richard Allen walked away. The bridge guy walked away or never encountered Libby and Abby at all, but that a group of Odinists suddenly appeared. But no one else saw these Odinists on the trail that day. Remember, there was a woman out jogging, and there were the girls that were walking. Nobody else saw these Odinists. So, my question is, what happened to them if it was Odinists? And I think that the mark that was on the tree just could have been anything. But the defense team said that they did not feel like the confessions were reliable. They claimed that Richard Allen had made them after a period of mental health deterioration and psychosis brought on by solitary confinement. And this could be true. He could have had mental health deterioration and psychosis, but to me, he doesn't sound psychotic, which is why I wanted to listen to the 4 recording calls that we have access to. Remember, he confessed 60 plus times. But the defense highlighted the absence of DNA, the absence of fingerprints, and other forensic evidence that would link Richard Allen to the crime scene. They attempted to introduce, but were not permitted to, an alternative theory suggesting that this was part of a ritual by Odinists, but this was ultimately excluded by the judge due to lack of admissible evidence. The defense also questioned eyewitness accounts and inconsistencies regarding the appearance of Bridge Guy and Richard Allen's potential involvement. So I'll just tell you where I'm at, and I'm curious where you guys are at. If you're watching this, come on up and talk to me. But where I'm at is I think that both things can be true. I think he could be placed in isolation, and that this can induce psychosis. And I think that he could have become, psychotic after spending months in isolation. But I also think, this man confessed 60 plus times to doing away with Libby and Abby. He sounds calm. He doesn't sound like psychotic when he's saying these things. And I think that both things could be true. I think that he could have had psychosis while being incarcerated and maybe wouldn't have made the confessions. But I also think that it's possible that he did do away with Libby and Abby, and that the jury did get it right. But I'm curious what you guys think, because I can just tell you what I think. And then I just want to know what you guys think about that. So let's see where you guys are at. Yeah, Michael is one of our head mods along with Njaz. Where's Njaz? Njaz is our other head mod. Thank you to everybody who's modding today. And Michael wants everybody to know, please, mods, please don't time out people just for having a different opinion or thought. We want to have different opinions. We don't want this to just be one person's opinion. I do have a point of view and I shared it with you, but I just don't want other people who feel differently to not have the ability to say what they think. We're not going to all agree on every single case. And this is a critical thinkers channel. And what I mean by that is I want to bring you guys all of the credibly sourced information that I can. And then you guys decide for yourselves what you believe, which is why I wanted to share both sides. So please don't time anybody out for having a different opinion. If they're being unkind or rude, that's different. But if they're just sharing a different opinion, that's okay. Kathleen says it's Ron Logan. All right, let me pull up Ron Logan. I think Ron Logan, the girls were found on his property. Okay. This is somebody else's YouTube channel. Hold on. Let me see if I can find a news outlet. How's it? Now, Ron Logan's girlfriend has spoken out too. I don't know if this has.
Connie Dillman joins me now live. Connie, thank you so much for joining me as a guest tonight. I want to go back to the comment that you made that as soon as you saw the video and heard about Bridge Guy, you knew it was Ron Logan. Tell me why.
I know the way he walks. You know, I just had an intuition, you know, when I heard, you know, that they were murdered. It's just, you know, he finally did. You know, it don't go away, no matter how long ago it was. You know, I had a very volatile relationship.
This is her cutting out. This isn't me.
You know, it's hard to get away from him. You know, he talked to me, and you know, he was very aggressive and abusive and manipulative, and you know, it's not something I really want to relive, but I just know his nature. I know his property. You know, it's just I'm just going with my gut feelings, just the kind of person he is, you know.
So his ex-girlfriend is adamant that she believes that Ron Logan is the perpetrator.
You know, he manipulated a lot of people. He manipulated my family, and it was hard to get away from him. And just it's really hard.
Can I ask you, did he ever have any interest in young girls? Did he show any predilection towards young girls when you were his girlfriend?
Yes. He sold a horse to a girl that didn't live too far from there, and she was 13 actually. And he was touchy with her, and she'd bring her horse, ride her horse over and stuff. And I just thought that was inappropriate. But I think I know we've gotten fights over that, you know. It's like, oh, I hate.
Okay, so she really feels like he is the one that did it. Now Ron Logan is no longer here to defend himself. He passed away. So I don't know. You know, I feel like the jury got it right. That's just my opinion. What say you? What do you guys think? Let me. So that is Ron Logan. You can see his image there. I don't know if we have any pictures of him just walking. We have Bridge Guy, which is just an image of Bridge Guy on there. And let's look at the image of Bridge Guy again. I just think it is Richard Allen. I don't know why. I just think his legs are shorter than Ron Logan's legs look, but I could be wrong. I've seen Ron Logan walking too. You know, I mean, she seems.
It was an obstruction of justice, is what they had brought him in on, and it was because he's a felon and he had guns.
And Ron Logan also lied about his alibi. So I think that's worth noting also. He did lie about his alibi, where he was on that day. He had somebody lie for him. So, yeah.
So I think that we need to know that too.
One other question for you. This inmate says that Ron Logan confessed to him while they were jailed together. You know Ron Logan before he died. Is he the kind of person that would have confessed something this terrible to a fellow inmate, both incarcerated together?
I think, you know, once you're off of alcohol, you know, you dry out a little bit, you know, you can get a guilty. You know, he needed somebody to talk to. I think probably even broke from that, you know, and
the cutting out is not me, you guys. This is her. It's not News Nation. It's coming from her feed.
Maybe he trusted that guy. You know, he wasn't going to be out of prison for quite a while. So You know, I mean, what did he have to lose? You know, he's 7 years old. You know, he was bragging. Even the scenes and stuff where he took news media too. I mean, I think he was showing him exactly what he did. You know.
And see, when I look at that, I just don't see. I see Richard Allen. I don't know. I just do.
See, this is the path that we go down. There's no path going there, so we have to go down here.
Whoever did this, no way did they mistake these for adults. The voices are young. They look young. And I believe that's when he pulled out a gun. Was at that moment. I think he pulled out a gun and told them to get down the hill. So a lot of people feel like Ron Logan, the girls were found on his property. He did lie about his alibi. But a lot of people feel like the jury got it right. So I feel like the jury got it right, but I'm curious what you guys think. Welcome to I Love Tacos. Welcome, and thank you so much for becoming a Reporter Room channel member. Welcome to the family. Tori Byrne, thank you so much for becoming a Reporter Room channel member. Welcome to the Reporter Room family. I'm glad you're here with us. Thank you to Michael Cole for the $1.99 super sticker. That is so kind and generous of you. Thank you so, so much. And thank you. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Njaz, for the 20 pounds super sticker. Thank you so, so much. That is so nice of you. And thank you for all your hard work. For those of you that don't know, Michael and Njaz are two of our head mods. Thank you to Njaz for gifting a Reporter Room membership. If you got one of those memberships, please make sure you say thank you to Njaz because she gifted another 5 Reporter Room memberships, you guys. This is so kind of you, Njaz. Thank you so, so much. So if you got one of those memberships from Njaz, please make sure you tell her thank you. And she is one of our head mods. And YouTube is right. Ron Logan is over 6 feet tall, whereas Richard Allen is much shorter. And I think he fits, to me, why I believe it is Richard Allen. But I understand why other people, including Ron Logan's girlfriend, thought that he was the perpetrator. So, here's another theory. Just, could multiple men have been using the Anthony Shots catfish account? Could this have been used by multiple men? Was it just Keegan Klein who was using this account, or were there other men using this account? Was there a ring of men using this account that included Ron Logan and Richard Allen? Thriller Reader says the prison guards holding Richard Allen were odinous. That's why Richard Allen was scared. Yes, I heard that they had patches that said that on there. I don't know if all of the guards were, but they definitely saw some. And then other people feel like, well, the prosecution just saw people with patches that were and decided to make this all up. Our angels are here. Doesn't think Ron Logan looks like Bridge Guy. Mariska says, Njaz, you are a rock star. Can I Kick It says, thank you, Njaz. Cindy says, Ron Logan's gait is different from the Bridge Guy. Bridge Guy looks smaller and did slouch over quite a bit. I also have to be honest, the first time I saw Richard Allen, I knew it was him. And Justice Lori says, thank you. And just thank you for wanting to, Lori. C Magic says, I think the jury was wrong. In my opinion, there was reasonable doubt. And I think part of the problem, and that in my opinion, let me know if you have a different take on this. I think there are a lot of the reason that, this case has become so controversial is that there was a lack of transparency from the judge. Now, from her point of view, I didn't know that Richard Allen had threatened her. From her point of view, she, may have just felt like the conspiracy theories about the odinous was just absolute nonsense, and she didn't want to let it in. She wasn't going to point the finger at two prison guards, without some kind of proof. But she could have also been more transparent with it. And this was a judge that in the past had always let cameras be in the courtroom. But on this case, she didn't, and she didn't immediately release the transcript of the trial either right away. So I think that this is why people have questions about this case. And, I understand. Jolene thinks the jury got it right. Can I kick at so many suspects? Yeah. Kathleen said yes, but when you're videoing somebody looking up at them, you can't tell their height. Amy said he was tall as well. Tallulah says using Ron's property for meetups. Right. Amy says Bridge Guy was super short. Look at the bottom of his pants. I think he was short too. Let me pull up Bridge Guy. Let me see if I can just pull Bridge Guy up by himself. There he is. See if I can get a more far away picture of Bridge Guy. Okay. I just really want a screenshot of him. Okay, so there's him with a side-by-side with Richard Allen. That's what Richard Allen looks like now. But there's Bridge Guy. And to me, the legs do look shorter. He doesn't look tall and lengthy. He does look shorter and on the squattier side. But, that's just my opinion. And it's okay if we don't all have to agree. But I am curious what you guys think about this. Tallulah can see Richard and Ron. So it sounds like some of you guys feel like people get suspicious, says Mariska. Obadiah says, I'm not buying that the judge's excuses. Then why did they fire the FBI? Who fired the FBI? The judge was a complete. Okay. Virginia says, also, wasn't the interview 5 years after the fact? So Logan would have been younger. True. I can see why you think that. Yep. Carter did. All right. So it's interesting. People have different feelings on this. And I think I believe that the jury got it right. And it's okay if you guys feel differently. I do want to say thank you to our producers, Enja, Sasha Angel, George Brown, Christy Ballantyne, and Michael L. Cole. Thank you so much for your support. And thank you, channel members, for allowing me to cover this case. Let me know by dropping me a comment in the comment section below. Would you like me to continue to cover this case? Because there is a lot more to unpack. I didn't get through everything. I only got through episode 1, and there's 2 more episodes on the Hulu series. If you would like me to do 2 more to cover all 3 on the series, let me know in the comment section below if you would like me to continue to cover this case. And if not, that's okay too. Just let me know. I'm just curious. I did feel like Kathy Allen deserved to have her say in all of this. I did want to share what she thought about this. And, I think it's important to share her side of it. And I also want to do super thanks and coffee gratitude from our live stream that we did last Saturday. So thank you so much. And for gifted channel memberships, Enjas. Thank you so much for your kindness. All right, so let's go. So this is what Bridge Guy looks like. Kathy Allen is just adamant. And she said that when Richard Allen told her that he was out on the trail, and when Kathy asked him if he saw Libby and Abby, that he said no, she recalled. She said Ricky called the police department to speak to the officers. He was more than willing to help. Richard Allen met with an officer, she said, and then we heard nothing. The Allens went on to live their lives, and the families grieved. And that's when, 5 years later, they identified Richard Allen as Bridge Guy. But Kathy Allen says, my husband is not a monster. He's not the monster that people think he is. But where the journalist from the Murder Sheet podcast said is that they, the journalist and the reporter both, or the lawyer and the journalist both feel like, he could be both. You know, these guys always, nobody can ever believe that they did it, right? Now some people feel like the police zeroed in on him because they wanted to make the case. They wanted to close the case. But the sheet said that it was 3 days after that a person listed as Richard Allen Whiteman self-reported. So I do wonder if this was just misfiled as Richard Allen Whiteman because he lived on Whiteman Drive, or if this was something he told them, that he said he was on the bridge but didn't give him his full name. And then his multiple confessions. So he not only confessed to his wife and to his mother, which I played for you, but he also confessed to a psychologist. She testified that Richard Allen confessed to her that he ordered the girls down the hill and intended to SA them, but then he saw something, either a person or a van, and was startled. An Indiana State Police trooper testified that he believed that the van belonged to a man who lived near the crime scene. The trooper said the time it would have taken for the man to drive home from work fits with the timing of the crimes. The defense argued that Richard Allen's mental state deteriorated rapidly while in solitary confinement, which lasted 13 months, and that he was in a psychotic state during the confessions. I don't think anybody, and he thought that he didn't think these were girls. He thought they were women, that they were older. I don't think anybody looking at the pictures of Libby and Abby could say that. I mean, there's Libby and there's Abby. I don't think anybody would look at them and think that they were women. I just don't think that they are. But ultimately, Richard Allen was found guilty, and his attorneys did file an appeal on his behalf. And the debate about what happened that day continues on. Well, thank you so much for coming by to spend a little bit of time with me. I am grateful for your input. Let me know if you would like me to continue covering this case, and please consider subscribing. I can't get to 50,000 subscribers without your help. And I would be happy to continue covering this case if you guys are interested. Let me know in the comment section below, and I will see you next.